Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is John Ciet. Well, I believe that we have three simple choices to make when it comes to our own success. Number one, we get to choose whether we are going to play the role of a victim or a victor. And I believe that unfortunately, most people, when it comes to their success, when it comes to their dreams and living their dreams, most people play the role of a victim. What I mean by that is this. See, most people live out of control, meaning what they will do is they will say that the reason they haven't achieved the life that they want, they don't have the job that they want, or they don't have the money in the bank that they want, or they don't live in the neighborhood that they want, or they don't have the amount of money that they want in the bank, is because of all of these external forces. Who's in the White House, who's out of the White House, the government charges too much in taxes, or the pandemic, or the business has been very challenging because the economy's down. They come up with all sorts of excuses as to why they are not achieving or living the life that they want, and therefore they are a victim. And it's difficult to be critical of people who are victims because, look, bad things happen to good people. That is true. And yet there are people who live under the same circumstances or even worse circumstances, and they are victors, meaning they take control. See, bad things still happen to them. They still live in the same market, the same economy, the same country, and yet they are successful. Why? Because instead of living out of control, meaning they assign responsibility or they pass blame, they simply take responsibility. They don't have to take responsibility who's in the White House or whether there's a pandemic. See, that's not within their control. It's not within our control. But what is within their control and our control is what they're going to do about it, how it affects them personally, and are they looking for solutions around those challenges? See, whatever the challenge is, we can find the solution. So you get to decide whether you're going to focus on the challenges or the solutions. Victors focus on the solutions. Victims focus on the challenges and commiserate and blame and say it's not within my control. That is simply, ladies and gentlemen, a choice. The second choice that we have is we can either choose to be a reactor or a responder. The question is, what's the difference? Well, reactors, they behave very quickly without forethought. There's no pattern of practiced behavior that allows for success. Whereas the first responder, they engage in forethought and they practice. And therefore, when bombs fly and bullets fly, or when 911 is called, they follow a protocol or a process. They don't lose their cool. They don't freak out. They just simply follow a process, and therefore they save lives. Well, see, you and I have to do the same thing. Not react, but simply respond. Respond with forethought, with practice, with calm, with a predetermined process that we follow. Does it sound familiar? Like a script. Like having a listing presentation or a conversation that's predetermined with an outline, so you know exactly where you're going to take people and the process that you're going to take them through. That's what it's going to take in every area of our life, not just business, but in our relationships and in our health. Having forethought and a process that we've practiced and are continuing to practice in order to get the results that we want. And then the final thing in terms of a choice that we have to make every day to determine whether we're going to be successful or not is whether we are going to be controlled by fear or love. Look, there are two primary emotions in life, and every emotion that we experience will come as a result of these two primary controlling emotions. Number one, fear, and number two, love. That is it. Every other emotion that we experience is going to be driven by one of those two, either fear or love. And so my question for you is this: which emotion are you predominantly controlled by? Are you predominantly controlled by your fears, or are you predominantly controlled by love? One of the best ways to answer that question is to look at the areas of life where you are finding challenge or where you're finding success, and ask this question: am I engaging in the very things that I know that I need to consistently every single day to be successful in this area of my life? And if the answer is yes, then it tells me that you're being driven by love and not by fear. If you ask that question, am I doing everything within my power every single day that I know that I need to do to achieve success in this area of my life? And the answer is no, then it tells me that you're being driven by your fears. See, people who are driven by their fears and avoid the very things that logically, consciously, they know that they need to do to be successful, and yet they don't do it because they are driven by their fears. They would sooner get away from the very things that they know that they have to do than to do them, simply because they're afraid of the process. They're afraid of, for example, in the business of real estate, of prospecting and getting rejected, of asking a seller to sign a contract, or a buyer to sign a contract, or to get a seller to reduce the price of a listing. See, they would sooner avoid those conversations and fail than to simply get rejected, because they're driven by their fears. Their fears control. See, whereas the person who is driven by their love or their passions, see, those people are still afraid, but they don't allow their fears to control them. They face them, and they control their fears. These things, ladies and gentlemen, are simply a choice. You get to choose whether you're going to be a victim or a victor. You get to choose whether you're going to be a reactor or a responder. And you get to choose whether you're going to be a person who's driven by their fears or by their love. My question for you is, which do you choose? Which do you choose? Give these things some thought, and as usual, I'll see you at the top.